Hello, people. How's it going? I don't know if it really matters. Really. I mean, I've never read Moby Dick, but I have listened to the whole thing on book on tape, and I will never read it. I'm sorry, Herman. You should have shortened it. But seriously, so I have listened to the book. I have listened to Moby Dick on tape. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed listening to it. I knew I'd never read it. I wanted to read it, but it seemed like a good idea. See, I think a book on tape is not a bad thing. If you're pressed for time, or you'd rather just listen to the book being read, there is no right or wrong when it comes to books on tape. I mean, when I'm writing, this is right now is the book on tape I'm listening to. This is the life of Albert Einstein. And I need background sound when I'm writing my stuff. And at the moment, this is the book I'm reading or listening to. I also have the book, by the way. I mean, I do own the books that I do listen to on tape. I mean, I did. Don't get me wrong. Moby Dick is a very good book to read and listen to on tape. It's an excellent novel. It's a very good story. You will learn a lot about whaling, whether you want to or not. And you won't, because by the time you're done, you'll almost feel what the story's about sometimes. It's a good novel. It takes me so long to read a long novel. And to me, this is a better way to read it by listening to it, someone else reading it, so I don't have to. But I also think, though, that reading them, there is a particular joy in reading a book. But actually, listening to someone else read it lacks. There's no. It's hard to explain unless you're a reader of books. There's a joy of reading literature. There's a joy of reading stuff you haven't read before or heard about. Somehow it's a new discovery you're discovering. Because when someone else is reading a book, they're discovering it. You're just listening to what they're discovering. So, yeah, it does depend on the book. I mean, I've listened to both I, Claudius and Claudius the God, and I've also read the books. I would take both of them. I enjoyed reading the books very much because I like Roman history. Well, quasi sort of Roman history via Robert Graves. It's not Roman history. But I enjoyed both versions. I got more out of reading it because you're more immersed into the book when you're reading the book. If you're listening to a book, your mind wanders. When I'm writing, I literally have tuned out the book I'm listening to. I can tell. I can tell that I have tuned out what I'm listening to, and slowly the person reading the book on my little CD player there slowly penetrates my tiny little brain. Now, I like Claudius. I love the TV series. I mean, it is. I mean, it is a wonderful TV series. Patrick Stewart with hair, but I think books on tape have a value not just that they help you listen to the book, and you don't have to do all the work. I guess it is confusing because it really does depend on the person listening to the book, what book it is. Because I have also listened to some people reading books on tape, and I'm sorry, it just didn't work. And it wasn't the book; it was the reader. Like there are some people who really, I don't know what it is. It just doesn't work. And I can't remember. There was one book that I did this, and I don't think I could finish it. And I think it was one of the Left Behind books. I have never read. I have read, I think, the first two books of the Left Behind series, and after that, I just got the abridged version on cassette. Yes, this is when cassette was more, not CDs yet. I tell you how long that was. But the person reading it, one of the books, just I could not tell the characters apart, and they did. They also sounded very different from what they were in the other books on tape. So there's that danger. But I mean, I've listened to Bridge Too Far on book on tape. which was very good, by the way. I read the book. The book is very good. You get more out of the book. In an odd way, you'll get more out of it because you'll see it. How do I explain this? Because I know I'm not explaining it very well. But there is a very different psychology to when you're listening to someone read something to you and when you yourself are reading it. I can't explain it. Don't ask me to explain it. It's probably just how I view it, how I see it. But I liked listening to Bridge Too Far on tape, and I liked reading the books. And but the longest day, I think. I'm trying to remember. There were other. Oh, the Battle for Rome. I've listened to that one on tape. Excellent. I mean, as you tell history things. I mean, I listened a lot when I was working for J.C. Penney's. I listened to a lot of books on tape because the job was boring. It was very monotonous, very routine. And overall, it's like, okay, I'll just listen to books on tape. I was allowed to have a radio. I was allowed to have a cassette player. Yes, I'm that old. I have a cassette player. I still do, by the way. I listen to one when I'm at work now. I'm old school. I'm very old school. Now, I've listened also to the Jeff Shera books, Gods and Generals, Killer Angels, Last Full Measure, all excellent books on tape. And actually, I have to be honest, they actually are far more fun to listen to on tape than to read. I know that sounds contradictory because it is, but for some reason, I enjoyed listening. Probably it is the reader. The person who's reading it is why it becomes more interesting. Because I really enjoyed listening to those books on tape of his books. And when he did Gone for Soldiers, Mexican War, I'm trying to remember if he did one for Revolutionary War. I know he did books. I just don't know if they did the books on tape. But the value of a book on tape is it makes it easier for the other person to enjoy a good book, fiction or nonfiction, and not have to do the work of actually reading it while they're doing other stuff. And to me, I couldn't just sit here and listen to a book on tape. I've got to be doing something. To just sit there and listen to a book on tape, I might as well be reading the book. You know, I throughout my whole life, I've either been listening to books on tape at work, and I've listened to a lot of them. I'm trying to remember other ones. I know there are tons of other books that I've listened to. In my brain, it'll come to me. But I'm either writing with a book on tape on. I like the background sound. I'm actually learning a lot in this book, even though another thing I don't like is the abridged versions of things. And this is an abridgment. Try very hard not to find abridgments. Oh, The Rise of Teddy Roosevelt. That was another book on tape I really enjoyed, even though I prefer the book. But, you know, it is a personal life. I think that's what the problem is. I think that's why it's difficult for me to explain it, because it is personal. You're hoping that the person who's reading the book has the same enjoyment that you're having listening to read the book. The Rise of Theodore Roosevelt is a very good book. It is an excellent book. And the person who did the book on tape did a pretty good job. But it's an abridgment, so there is that caveat of a negative sort of. I don't like abridgments. The Moby Dick I listened to was the entire book. It wasn't an abridgment. It was the entire novel, and it took a week. I was working at Menards night shift, and for a whole entire week, that's all I listened to was Moby Dick on tape. The entire book. I learned a lot about whaling, and the fact that Herman Melville liked to write long novels. He was a good writer, though. I do have a biography of his somewhere over there. I mean, it's only recently that I've gotten into buying more of these things again. But that's a long story. I used to have a lot more than these. Now I just have two of them. I'm recollecting them again because I really like them. It's really working to help me write better. I don't know how to explain it. I like the background noise. I know I keep saying that. Excuse me. But my writing, I seem to write better. I can't write in silence. I can't write when it's quiet. I cannot write when there's nothing happening. It's distracting. So there's another reason I like books on tape, because they're not distracting. If I have to time tuning it out and I can't hear it. I'm trying to think, what else did I read? I did one book on tape. Because when I worked for Penny's, I would have listened to a lot of them. When I was working for Menards, I know I listened to more than just Herman Melville's Moby Dick. Asking, I would listen to all kinds of stuff. I don't think, this is a personal thing. Which is probably why I'm having a hard time explaining it, because it probably doesn't make any sense. Is the book better than having someone read it to you? Well, yes and no. I mean, you can still get enjoyment out of someone reading it if they give you the excitement of them reading it. But see, to me, it's a personal thing, and I think my inability to explain it clearly or get better is a result of the fact that I can't really explain to people why listening to someone reading a book is just as good sometimes as reading the book yourself. I mean, it just is. It's odd. It's a preference. It's a personal preference. It's a personal liking. It's something that it is. It's personal taste. I mean, I think of other books that I know I've listened to a lot more than the ones I've described. I would think, as long as I've been alive. I like Shira books on tape. And I know this is going to sound weird, but I like them more on books on tape than I did reading them, and I don't know why. And once again, I keep saying, I think that has a lot to do with the person reading it. As I've said before, I've listened to some books on tape, and I'm sorry, dude, this may be your job, but you're not really making this book very interesting. You're not giving me a reason to want to read the book all that much. And in some cases, you're making a story I actually like kind of boring, or kind of, the characters all sound the same. And then I know it's got to be voice acting and reading a book, trying to entertain people. It's got to be difficult. It really is difficult. I wouldn't want to do it. I don't think I could do it. Like, I know I could do it. But I think books on tape are good. I'm not a negative books on tape guy. I'm pro books on tape. They have their uses. They're very useful. They can work when they need to work. They are very good tools for people who really just don't want to read. They don't want to read, or they'd rather just listen to the book while they're doing something else, which is what I do. I mean, they don't. Some of those people who Edward Herman is very good. Yeah, Edward Herman. Edward Herman has got to have one of those best voices ever for reading a book on tape. I've always enjoyed it when I hear he's doing a book on tape, because he's so personality comes out in things. You can tell he likes it. Hopefully, he reads it in a way that makes it very interesting, very. What's the word I'm thinking of? He holds your attention. And as I said, there are some who just don't hold my attention. But Edward Herman, this one, is very good. I'm not sure who reads the other one I have. A minute. That's the other one I have. Okay, I've never heard of Chris Sorensen, so I will have to give my approval. I might have to start doing movie reviews and books on tape reviews. But Horrick is a good author, by the way. He's written a lot of good books on Mayflower, Bunker Hill, the Challenger explorations, Battle of Bighorn, the Essex, the actual ship Moby Dick is based off of. Moby Dick is based off a true story, Anyway, it's a good book. I keep saying that, but you know what I mean. He was an interesting guy. He was quite the rascal. Jews, I'm telling you what he could do. Albert. He was an interesting guy. And he's a good writer too, by the way. He's a good writer. Walter Isaacson. I need to get more. There's an Alexander Hamilton I want to get. Biography by Turnow. There's the Mark Twain one I want to get. There is one on the Mayflower I want to get. I'm trying to find Tolkien. I'm trying to find some books on Tolkien's Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and this, that, and the other. What's the other one? Oh, there is A Tale of Two Cities. I want to get that one. At some point, I want to get all these because I like them. I love Tale of Two Cities. That is my favorite Charles Dickens novel after A Christmas Carol. Believe it or not, I do actually like The Christmas Carol. I read it every year during that quasi made up holiday. I do Hanukkah. I do Hanukkah. If you never know, I do Hanukkah. I wonder why I do Hanukkah. I don't know. I wonder why. But no, I do. A half price bookstore is great to find these things. But anyway, but yes, I am very pro book on tape. It's a personal reason why you use it. It's a very personal reason why. It's a preference why you use it. It's what you want to do. If you want to read both and look book on tape, cool. If you don't, that's not my problem. You do what you do. You listen to the books your way. I'm just saying that they are good. There are some good ones out there. It does depend also on the narrator. That's true. But Edward Herman does a very good job. He's an excellent narrator. There's something about his voice. It's in his voice the way he talks. But anyway, behave yourselves, people. But you know I'm not going to. Like, share, comment, subscribe. See you later. Come on, turn off.